The number one selling camera in the world right now appears to be the iPhone. Now, the iPhone 13 was just recently announced. It has new optics, a new processor, and an updated imaging engine. Now, this camera is still designed for, well, it's designed for families. It's designed for regular people. It's designed for those who don't want to have to bother with a camera, who see this as an easy process. Take the picture, take the video, edit it in camera, and then post it to your social media or email it. None of this having to take the card out of the camera, put it into your computer, load it into your photo application, pick which photos you want, fix the photos, save them, then bring them into another application where you can post them onto social media. And video, well, we know that's a whole lot more complicated. The iPhone 13 offered several new improvements, and I was really quite excited. They showed us this film they created. And in this 1-minute film, this was all shot with the iPhone 13. And what I want you to notice here is, yes, these scenes look really good, but I want you to notice when they go behind the scenes, you can see how many people are working putting this together. You can see it's multiple people. They got professional lighting, professional studios. So yes, the only thing here that isn't professional is the actual camera. But still, it produces some really increasing effects. And what Apple announced is a couple of different things. One is they offer very cinematic styles, dramatic, vivid, noir, but then they also added a cinematic mode. And what this does is it takes some things that some of us take a little bit of time practicing, such as focus racking and setting up the camera so that it focuses at just the right speed, and then switching focus from one subject to the other. And I want to show you a bit of a clip here where Canon is highlighting this. And look in this video, you can see this character here. The camera's focused on him, nice smooth motion. And watch where the focus point is. It'll change from his eyes to his dog very smoothly. And when he comes into frame, he's already in focus. The iPhone can see him coming into the frame and chooses the right focus point. He turns, focus shifts to her. And I think this is really amazing. But you see, there's something else. There's something else that they did here. I have to see this myself. I have to try this out. And it's called focus racking or focus shifting in post. And in this video clip here, I want you to pay close attention here. What they're able to do is they're able to, one, you can select the person who's in focus and you can shift it. But what I find the most amazing part is this depth mapping. Look at this. This is in post. They're changing the focus point. And they changed the focus point. He's far in the background. He isn't up close. That's all done in post. And I think that's impressive. Yes, I agree. We do have to test this out. We need some independent reviews. But I remember back in March, or no, it was November of last year, a lot of us thought, the M1, there's no way it can be that fast. How many YouTube channels have come out and said it isn't? Everyone's come out and said it's incredible. So I do reserve final verdict to actually see it. Now, a few other things that they give us with this camera, it does do ProRes. But the bad news is you need at least 256 gigs, so you're going to have to go with a more expensive unit. And it'll also do Dolby Vision HDR. Now, what Canon said is to be able to do that focus pulling in post, it uses some sort of machine learning and disparity to be able to create a depth map. And, well, depth map sounds really good, but, they told me how they did it. It didn't really tell me how they did it. So starting at $999, you're going to have to pay a whole lot more to get the 256 version. And because this is a sealed unit, just like my iPhone, you probably want to go to the 512 gigabyte or the 1 terabyte. And at that point, you're getting awfully close to the A7 III or the new A7 IV price or the R6. So my question to my panelists is, the first question, then I'll ask you some other questions because I want to spend some time on this. Magnus, what do you think of the iPhone 13's video capabilities?
Okay. First and foremost, I'm a Samsung fan, so here's my little Samsung NX1. So I had to pull that off.
Did you take that from the museum?
I have two. I love
Oh,
these things.
Oh,
But
I felt that burn.
Actually, it's not a burn, and I say this sincerely. What Samsung recognized very early on is while yes, they can make money doing mirrorless and DSLRs, when they looked at how much money they had to invest to get the money out, then they shifted over to their phones and realized, boys, money's in the phones. So
right.
it's not because they couldn't hack it, it's because business wise, well, look at how well Samsung's phones do. And you can probably comment on that, Magnus. So sorry, I'll give you the floor back.
It's fine. Now, one thing I will say is, and I want to speak to specifically to the iPhone, as unbiased as I possibly can be, besides my fanboy status, is
I didn't do that, guys. I did not
What happened?
freeze Magnus.
update or something. That's what I've heard. I can't confirm whether that's true or not. So
Magnus,
it won't be immediately available.
sorry,
So
I have to interrupt. You froze for about 10, 15 seconds, and all we heard was at the end, and that's what I think about that.
okay. Sorry about that.
but not with an Alabama accent though. That's all I have to say about that.
So I gave away all my secrets. I'm sorry you missed that. But long story short, the iPhone itself, the fact that they're focusing so much on their cameras, which cameras, they're the number one camera in the entire world when it comes to usage. So I can see why they're focusing so much on its video capabilities, because you know what? Video is taking over when it comes to social media, when it comes to posting whatever you want to post. Instagram is now more of a video platform than it is a picture sharing platform. So in respect to that, Apple recognizes that, and they're trying to just be next level. It's like other phones can do this, but we can make you look cinematic. But like you showed, Simon, you've got to pay attention to their marketing and the fact that they had so many people working there. They had lights, they had setup. And a lot of these new features, in my personal opinion, have to wait to be tested because not everyone has those perfect conditions. And when you're out there in the field, no matter how amazing these features might be, they might never be used. And the most common feature that will probably be compared to when it comes to other models is, look at how good my picture looks. Oh, let me see your phone. Oh, look at my phone. Oh,
Yeah.
my picture looks better, without understanding any of the technical beef behind it. So I think that's what will make or break the decision. But you know what? Apple's got it. Apple's got its fan base, and the fact that they're introducing more cinematic video
Yeah.
features that we can play with is still something great, especially ProRes. I love ProRes.
Yes. And you know what? When I talked earlier about the video I did of the Crane, not this one here, but the 2 Pro kit, I always want to say Weeble S. It's the Weeble 2. I get the names mixed up. Go ahead and look at the video before that one, and you'll see at the beginning, it's like, Simon, what the heck are you doing here? This looks garbage. Well, that's because I'm shooting with the iPhone 12. And I'm not here to pick on anybody. I'm not. And Apple's the same. Apple will say this camera isn't designed to replace a DSLR or mirrorless. But I was watching an iJustine video, and she was out in California shooting some great shots, and it looked really, really good. But then she did a pan, and I thought, ooh, what's that? Ooh. It's kind of like when you're filming family photos and one of your uncles or cousins comes down the stairs butt naked. It just ruins it for everybody. And I thought, you know, my next video, I'm going to take my phone into the forest. I'm going to I'm going to keep going. I'm going to ignore that comment. I put it on a stick and I shot my video. And I had great plans to do the entire video using the iPhone. And I checked it against the computer. I got it the best I could. I brought it back. And again, it was shot an hour after sunrise, still early September, but in low light in the forest. So you're really, really pushing it. And when I came back and looked at the computer, I just thought, I think I swore to, and I just said, and my wife said, what? I said, I got to toss it. And then I thought, no, don't toss it because this is real life. Show people what it's like. And so that my viewers wouldn't realize I don't know what I'm doing, I shot the rest of it with a Canon R5. And you go from that very, very bad noise in the background to crystal sharp. And you can't see that don't expect this to give you miracles in low light because it can't. Now, with the still side of this, it performs very well because on the still side, your shutter, you can make it anything you want. Whereas when you're video, you're basically that rule of 180. So if I'm shooting 30 frames per second, I really need to keep it at 160. So there goes my shutter. I can't really have any flexibility there. And then there's my f-stop. Well, because of the sensor size and because of the cropping factor, I'm probably at wide open, at best, f8 with the iPhone. Maybe a little less if I go with the f.9, but not what you expect in low light. Even with the R5, when I'm shooting in low light in the forest, I'm usually anywhere between f1.6 to f3.2. So I've taken a bit of your guys' time there, but now I want to switch it over to John. The iPhone 13, have you tried to do any of your videos using the iPhone 13, and what do you think of the video capabilities of the phone?
Well, actually, I'm another Droid person. My current phone and the one before that have been Google Pixels. I have Pixel 5 now, and I had a Pixel 2 before that. So, I mean, and the Pixel 5 it's a very good camera. It's got the night vision or night mode, I should say, as the iPhone 13s. And I think the one before that one also had that. But so I personally would, I've used it a little bit, mostly for B-roll, things like that. I've used it for maybe setting up shots that I plan to take with my real camera, because if I want to take something that actually means something to me, I'm going to use one of my real cameras. It's just the way I am, either whether it be photo or video. One thing I do want to point out is, from what I understand, is a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's obviously 4 different iPhone 13s that they put out, and got 2 Pro versions as well as the 2 consumer versions, and the features that you really want, they really want you to buy the most expensive phones, and apparently there's things that they put out in the announcements that they don't really tell you, or that they're in the phones that they don't really tell you. Like I was watching F-Stopper's video today, and one thing he talked about, and one of my lights just died, which is
no, run with it. I like that.
Right.
What does Apple call it? They call it the cool noir. I like it.
Okay, I'll have to check how I set that setup. It's actually plugged into the AC, so I'm not sure why it cut off because the thing is up. But anyway, I've lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so the cinematic mode. One thing that apparently isn't mentioned in the announcement is that apparently that records in 1080, not 4K. So I don't know how. So I probably if they put it in 4K, maybe then you'll see more artifacts and such, because all that defocus or that bokeh is really just is AI. It's not real, So you might see more artifacts if they had it in a higher resolution. That's just that's not my thought. That's the f-stopper the guy's thought, and I have to agree with that. It seems it's logical. So I'm sure there's other things there, too, that again you need to see more real life use to find out how good it really is.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, because I'm putting the video up again. When you look at this, you can't help but go, "Wow, this is incredible." But again, as Magnus said, is behind the scenes you have a full crew. The only thing difference is instead of having a red camera, they're using an iPhone. They've got an Oscar-winning director doing this. Of course, they're going to get everything set up and the lighting. These people know how to work in low light situations. So. And I love one of the comments. Who is it said? Jesse said, Apple fanboys cut you off. And that's why I sort of burst out laughing behind the scenes, because, I am an Apple fanboy. I'm a Canon fanboy, Sony. I just love technology. But, a glass of salt water, you got to be careful, because otherwise you're going to find yourself picking technology that, well, you're going to have buyer's remorse. So always focus on the capabilities you want. Watch the reviews. If there's nothing wrong with an R5, an R6, a Sony a6100, or an iPhone 13, but you want to get the technology that works for you. And if you don't want to have to fiddle with multiple devices, something that can fit in your pocket, you don't have to worry about forgetting your camera, then yeah, you can probably produce some really good results with these cameras that you're going to be happy with. John's fixing his light. Any other comments on the iPhone 13? I just lost my screen here, so we're all losing stuff.
Well, I guess I'll go. What I was gonna just say, I guess I'll give my backstory first. So I started off in Samsung. I was up to the Galaxy S7, I think, or no, S8. I was at the S8. Then I switched to LG to the LG V30, and now I'm on the iPhone 11 right now. I'm not an Apple fan. I just felt fit the need that I needed for in terms of a phone. I will say this in terms of the iPhone 13, Apple. You guys at first had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. Um, I think you guys hit a nail. I think this is just something I just brought up before with the GoPro. It's another tool. Um, and they're great at marketing. They are very great at the marketing, but I think everybody's hit the head. Yeah, it's like you can always get nice, great shots. It's like, wow, this looks amazing. Yeah, you got Academy Award winning cinematographers and DPs. Unfortunately, most of us are not. I would love to be an Academy Award winning DP. I'm not, but and not everybody's going to have the resources of an Academy Award winning DP. So there's definitely a lot of marketing ahead, and I think there's a cautionary tale. Having said all that, I do believe this brings me back to a time when I went to my wife's country, and then we took a trip to Ghana, and we went to this beach, this is when the Pocket 4K just came out, and I took it over there to just grab stuff and film, and it was a great time. But we got to this beach in Ghana, and they basically said I can't enter because of my pocket camera, because I have a professional camera.
Yes, of course.
But I could take my phone and film stuff on my phone. And now we're getting to a point where it's like, man, this announcement sort of brings me back to like all these times where you get into space where you may not, and this is the benefit of iPhone, again, another tool for creators, where you can go and capture stuff that you may not necessarily be able to get with larger cameras, with a R5 or a C70. It draws too much attention. It's like it's a phone. It's the most inconspicuous video camera, and now it's going with capabilities of ProRes. Even with the higher price tags of getting that 512 or terabyte storage space, you can make an argument like you can use this to go out in places where you may not necessarily get, and go travel and get unique video and sell, or photos, sell them on stock footage, and recoup your money that way. We're in an age where there's so many ways where you can really give yourself some funds and ways, and you can do it on simply something as an iPhone. It's great.
No, that's really good. I want to shift just a little bit of a pivot here. We're going to stay on Apple, but I know many of you out there are thinking about getting one of those M1 MacBooks or MacBook Airs or Mac Minis. And I know a friend of mine, Stop the FOMO, just recently picked up one of those Mac Minis for his family, but he's also going to play around with it. Now, me and James have talked about this. James uses DaVinci Resolve, an excellent NLE, and I use Final Cut. Now, when I'm using Final Cut on this M1 MacBook Air, again, it's 7 cores, only 8 gigs of RAM, if you can believe that. 8 gigs. I am able to edit 8K all iVideo, provide effects, balancing, let's say about 5 or 6 effects. It doesn't drop a frame. And I don't know how it's possible it can do this. But I know this isn't for me. The screen's too small. I want something like a 27-inch screen or a MacBook 16 at the very least. I need that screen display. And you know what? I know what I'm able to do with 8 gigs, but I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't have at least 32 gigs of RAM. So I'm waiting to see what this MacBook Pro 2021 is going to be like. And I want to get each of your opinions on it. Let me know what you shoot with. Sorry, not what you shoot with, what you edit with your own Windows or Mac. But let me just give you all a quick update on what we're getting with this MacBook Pro. The Apple MacBook Pro is supposed to be hitting the shelves in the next several weeks, and this is according to Mark Gurman. And he's one of those analysts on Wall Street that seems to have a pretty good hit. Now, this came out on Sunday before Tuesday. So I thought maybe we might get something, but they also said that don't expect anything for Tuesday. Apple has dropped products before without doing any fanfare. The site's down for an hour or two, the stuff is up there. But this is going to be kind of a big deal. They're going to be introducing processors that are going to help feed into the Mac Pro. So I'm curious. I do use Apple. I'm kind of locked into Final Cut because I like it. It works for me. As an ordinary filmmaker, it's perfect. I know it isn't there for everybody, as I'm sure James will tell us. But I like it, and I like that I can edit on my lap without this thing overheating. It's just truly remarkable what it can do. So who I'm going to pick on first? I'm going to pick on Magnus because I know, Magnus, you don't use Apple, do you?
No, I do not use Apple. Now, Apple, I believe, is one of, if not the best types of hardware to use when it comes for editing. But I also believe that, and this is kind of an old feeling, is that they've been overpriced for years when it comes to the hardware they delivered. And M1, they started a revolution, especially with video editing.
Yeah.
So that has piqued my interest. But I'm an Adobe Creative Cloud person. I edit with Adobe Premiere Pro CC. I also dabble in DaVinci Resolve, but predominantly I'm in Adobe. And I do believe that the DaVinci Resolve experience, when it comes to playback, editing, and outputting, is much faster.
Yeah.
Much faster.
Yeah.
So my preference for Adobe is simply comfortability. But I still dabble in between editing systems. But one important thing I really want to say when it comes to this subject is that if you're editing on a PC and wondering what you need in order to be able to edit, like you do, 8K files, it's more than just the processor. It's more than just the video card. It's the whole build. Yep. It's using SSDs instead of regular hard disks. It's making sure you have enough RAM. All of that matters. But I do believe that you can get that to an affordable price where you can edit 8K pretty comfortably. I edit 8K RAW directly from the R5 on Adobe Premiere with 0 dropped frames. 0 dropped frames. And I don't have to, and they're not ProRes files, because ProRes files will make it easier to edit on a Mac. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to have, for example, an Atomos Ninja to record and get ProRes. I don't need that. I record directly to the R5 and can edit 8K smoothly. And I have a couple of videos on that on my channel where I show you that. So small plug. But
so check out his channel and subscribe.
Yes. My opinion is each platform has its advantages and disadvantages. But the number one reason besides the video editing that I stick to PC is I like gaming too. And PC is where it's at. Yeah,
we talked about this in the pre-show, how I got so tired of blowing away the registry or creating problems. This is back with Windows 95 that I decided to just go consoles for gaming and Windows. I think I switched over to Windows NT and the Windows 2000 because the driver problems back then. But anyhow, so let's go over to James. James, what do you edit on? And also, what do you think of these new MacBooks?
Okay. I'm going to just let you guys know. I have a lot to... I'm going to try to keep it as minimum because of recent experience.
So 20 minutes in?
No, so here we go.
Yep. All right. So what I edit on, my main editing is, I just brought it in frame a little bit. It's this laptop. It is a PC. It is a Gigabyte Aerial OLED 15 laptop. And I use this. I edit DaVinci Resolve exclusively unless I'm on a job like I was this past week. But I'm pretty much in DaVinci Resolve. And like Magnus, I shoot R5, AK RAW on the R5, and no playback issues. Especially if you just render the files, and the rendering is really fast because, like he talks about, it's all about the process. It's not just about the process, it's about everything. This has 64 gigs of RAM. It has terabyte SSDs. It has a 20. It doesn't even have like the most craziest graphics card. It's like a 20. I think it's like a 2017 graphics card, like NVIDIA QX Supermax Q, and then an i7 core processor. Nothing too crazy, and it's $2,500. Let's get on this M1 stuff right now, okay?
Here we go.
Because I literally have just spent a week editing doing post work and color grading on an M1 iMac, brand new one, and it's right now it has the most amount you can have, which is 16 gigs.
Yep.
And we were color grading we were editing in Premiere, and then we were doing color grading in Resolve. I'm not going to try to go too much because the production is still in works. All I will say is literally almost every 20 minutes, there was like points where it's like literally almost 20 minutes crash because we
Wow.
ran out of memory in Premiere. Resolve. You ran out of memory. You got to close the program. I like the fact that they're like, it's one of the things that always bothered me, even with I'm really intrigued by the iPhone, but the one thing that always bothered me about Apple is the fact that they feel they know what my workflow is better than me. Don't worry, we got you. Just do what we do.
Well, there's a caveat. You have to have their hardware and software.
Yeah,
Right.
just do it how we want you to do it, and you will be fine. And that doesn't work for me. And it's just they got it. You need more RAM. You need at least 64 gigabytes of RAM. And for the amount you pay, like I'm pretty sure that iMac was like it was in the upper end, and this is $2,500, and it plays back 8K RAW smoothly.
James, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you tried using Final Cut Pro on Mac? What do you think?
I mean, I've used Final Cut. Yeah, I have used Final Cut Pro. Look, it's all if you're in the Mac, if you're completely in the Apple ecosystem, then the M1s are great.
Yeah.
And even honestly, even on DaVinci Resolve, to a certain extent, the M1 is actually pretty good. But most people are still on Premiere, and Premiere is still very heavily dependent on your memory. And I like Final Cut. It's okay, but honestly, it has that Apple of we know what's best for you. It doesn't give me the control like Resolve and even Premiere, which I can't stand. I can't stand Premiere. But yeah, in terms of this, if they're not at least giving at least 32 gigabytes of RAM, in terms of unless you're just purely in Final Cut, to me it's kind of pointless.
And that's a very good point. And this is where I want you to see different perspectives and different setups. And I'm so glad that hearing that we all have a different setup. And I agree with James. First of all, I think that DaVinci Resolve is one of the top 2 NLEs out there for the ordinary filmmaker. If you're getting into industry, that's very different. And you know, James is. What I have noticed with the M1, everything I say about the video performance is using Final Cut Pro. As an ordinary filmmaker, I'm a one-person crew. I don't need to share files with anybody. That's what I'm using. And you might think, well, I'm probably only doing short videos of 15 or 20 minutes. I have a project on this 4 terabyte SSD. It's currently about 2.2 terabytes long. Time-wise, it's 1 hour and 33 minutes long. The video's coming out of the R5. It is ProRes, as James said. When I'm recording in the Ninja, it automatically gives me ProRes, but it is giving me ProRes, and it's 4K, all-I, 30 frames per second. And, you know, I can edit a large file like I never get out of memory things. And this is a good point. As James says, if you're staying within that Apple ecosystem, Final Cut on the M1s, it is staggering fast, never any out-of-memory problems, and I'm always working on those large files. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know what sort of evil magic they're doing behind the scenes to make it happen. But if you're doing DaVinci Resolve on an M1 Mac, then yeah, you know, the normal rules apply. If you're doing 4K video, you really should. And if you're on Windows, Linux, if you're doing 4K video, you should have 32 gigs. If you're going north, you should have 64. And when I say you should have 32 or 64, that should be your floor. All right, let's turn over to John. John, what do you think about these computers?
I'm another Windows user. I've got a Windows 10 PC that I've had for about a year, and I edit on, well, in terms of video, I edit that on DaVinci also, which I got first the free version and since upgraded to the Pro version, but I didn't want to. I do my photo editing in in Adobe, Lightroom and Photoshop. I didn't want to have another subscription on top of those two, so that's why I got the free DaVinci when I first wanted to get into video. And having just paid once for the Pro version, that's fine with me. And I find that program very, very easy. I struggled to learn, say, Photoshop, and knowing that Premiere is built on a similar architecture to Photoshop, I think I chose wisely to go with DaVinci. And one thing in terms of the Mac, I mean, one of the reasons I've always used PCs. I mean, I use PCs at work. I mean, I worked for 40 years, with the federal government, and they always used PCs for the last decade and a half or couple of decades that we've had computers. It's been Windows, and obviously some of them up until the most recent one, Windows 10 has been very stable. Everything before that, could go down almost any time, but you never know. But I'm pretty happy with Windows 10. And the thing is that with the PC, I was able to upgrade it. I mean, this machine I bought it came with 16 RAM. I upgraded it myself to 80. I could swap out I've got a good graphic card. I could upgrade that. I could upgrade it. I could add another hard drive if I want. There's a lot of things I could do with this computer that I couldn't do with a Mac, because it's you get what you want. You get what they have, and if you want something upgraded, you're looking at another machine.
Unless you spend 10 grand.
And for a lot less money than I just spent with a Mac.
You will get less and you will love it.
What's that?
I said you will take less and you will love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Take less and love it. So, I'm happy. So I'm happy with the system that I have. I'm glad it's upgradable and, configurable to the way I want it. And there we go.
And I got to say that though I've been in the Mac system since Vista, and that's why I did it. I was in Commodore, then I moved to Windows, and I left Windows when Vista came out, because I always spent about $3,000 on a computer, and my view is that Windows doesn't always. This is going back 10, 15 years ago, and I always said that Windows doesn't always suck. What happens is if you buy these computers with bloatware on it, and you just don't have enough RAM and everything, it's not going to work. What you need is sufficient memory. You need good memory. What is it? Bit flipping. Bit flipping. If you have ECC memory, for example, you don't have to worry about bit flipping. Bit flipping is an error that occurs when, as the sun's radiation hits our atmosphere, it splits into many different particles, and once in a while, those particles will hit a computer, and it'll hit a chip, and it'll disrupt it, and it'll cause it to crash or do any number of things. This is a pretty common thing. Now, it depends. If you have like 256 megabytes, it could be happening once every second, and depending on the memory that's flipped, it doesn't affect anything. And they've shown this. This actually happened with planes. Planes all of a sudden started to do a nosedive, and when they looked at the flight recorder, they realized that one of the bits changed automatically for no apparent reason. They realized it was likely due to bit flipping. So ECC solves bit flipping. So that's why some people pay extra for ECC memory. But you also want good processors. You want good processors that can work with good GPUs. You want to have the right data pathways. You need to have the right SSD readers or the adapters between the storage and your main bus. Otherwise, what's the point of having this super fast M2 SSD if you're hitting a slow bus speed? It's just so many things working together. You need to spend a good amount of money. So I love the different opinions. I switched over to Mac because of Vista. It was one of those where my boss said to me at the time, he says, "What are you going to do, go Mac?" And I went, "Yeah, maybe I will." I was just so tired of Vista at the time, and everybody at the time was saying, this was when it just came out, and I needed a new computer then, and that's why I ended up with Mac, not because I thought it was the best. So if you're kind of on the fence, you're not sure what to go with, again, make it a capability-based discussion. What do you want? What results do you want out of what you produce? Are you going to be editing in 4K or 8K? What kind of files are you going to be working? Are they be coming out of the Canon R5, or you're dealing with 8K RAW files? And any of these gentlemen here that are, if you want to ask them any questions, you want to subscribe to the channel and drop a comment to them later, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to give you more details on their setups. I think DaVinci Resolve has got to be one of the best out there. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I might very well have DaVinci Resolve right now if it wasn't for the fact in 2015, I think it was, when I was looking at getting an LE. It was anything but Adobe because I couldn't afford it, and it was so slow and buggy at the time. And Blackmagic was just color correction. Well, I shouldn't say just. It did an awesome job at color correction and balancing and all that post-work, but it wasn't an NLE. So also, if you're not sure what to get, as I said, DaVinci Resolve is free. There are some limitations, like it's 8-bit, but it's free. Play around with it, and you know what? I think it's terrific.
Yeah, Pro version is 10-bit.
Yes.
best in the league of the three, in my opinion.
And you're entitled to your opinion, even if it's wrong. And no, James is a friend of mine. I like joking with him. Honestly, I think DaVinci Resolve and Final Cut are really amazing platforms for the ordinary filmmaker. Both of them top out at $299. And if I think that really matters. I paid $299 back in 2015. I haven't paid a cent since, and I think the same goes for Blackmagic as well.
Right.
Yep, pretty much the same.
That's good.
And I have to defend Premiere. It's
better now.
It may not be everybody's favorite, but it's amazing with its capabilities when you know how to use it and what you can do with it.
They have recently, in the last year or so, they've dramatically improved the performance of it. Yeah, it's
Correct.
much better. Yeah. If you like this video, well, stay tuned. I've got more of them coming. But keep in mind, this is a pre-recorded segment from my weekly Camera News live show, which is every Friday between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you like covering the news and if you would like to collaborate, well, then join me live Friday nights where you can ask questions and interact with the panelists. And panelists cover a range of the camera industry. We have photo experts and video experts. We have camera news or industry insiders. And once in a while, I have some guests from other channels such as Jordan Drake or Dan Watson. But again, thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Please don't forget to punch that like and subscribe button, as it really does help my channel grow. We'll see you again soon.